listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Rough roads ahead. Well, I have my new microphone. It's a little bit more adjustable. I was going to keep both of them, even though the other one's a lesser microphone. Number one, I ordered it. Number two, I figured I'd pass it along to somebody in Kansas. Once I got up there, I'd find somebody that may need a microphone for, internet conferencing or, phone calls online or just maybe chatting or even streaming themselves. But I noticed that the the markings that I knew were there looked like a screwdriver, looked like it was malicious, like somebody did it. So I said, "Nah, I'm not really going to keep this. Let me see what they say when I contact them." I was thinking, okay, if they give me $20, I'll keep it, something like that. And of course, they hit the button and said return. So that's that. So here we have the Ranger Handbook overview. When you first look at the Ranger Handbook, you might be a little intimidated and confused, except for some of the anecdotes and things that they have in there. That keeps you entertained before you actually wire into the thing and have a clue of what it's actually saying. So what happens is eventually it'll be in your mind. I mean, I never knew what I was doing when I would do all this law enforcement stuff, and that's kind of the basis of what I'm doing. If you go and look at it, it's an organizational structure. Again, it's the warning order, op order. It's all. The thing is, when you train with it and use it in combat, it's not a stringent. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that. You do it, again, like I say with everything else from rehearsal and training, you do it so something comes out when it comes time, and it's somewhat credible, somewhat understandable, somewhat receivable. So again, communication is also part of what the Ranger Handbook instructs you in as far as how to organize it, but it's also when you do communicate, you're on a certain wavelength. What's the word? I wouldn't want to say thrifty, but an economical communication method. You'll find that I'll throw 3 sentences together in one. That's a combat technique. That's a military technique. Okay. Instead of, it takes time to say all this stuff if you're like worrying about English and grammar. If you just go, and they go, and then it works. So I guess that's what it sounds like sometimes when I speak to some people. Don't receive in Ranger Handbook and military wavelength, or maybe mine's a separate military side badge or something. However, it's not militarizing, it's communications, it's organization, and it's very visible in Uvalde what happened. Again, there was a plan. When plans fail, you can blame people or soldiers or military or law enforcement or Twitter employees, whatever you want. Because you got money and you're in charge. Maybe not for long. Huh? Take that money. Kill it. Kill the money. They're working evil for money. Kill it. Hey, where's my coffee? Hang on. I'll be back in a second.
You're listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, I don't know how the volume is working here. I'll have to listen online. So, when we look at the Ranger Handbook, we see an organizational structure. When Uvalde happened, that organizational structure didn't exist. So, what does that mean? Does that mean the superintendent of the state police or the governor or whoever? In reality, you know, it happens. Again, you do what you do, and I usually don't blame people. Like, maybe like a letter of reprimand, and then that goes away 6 months to a year later, kind of thing. However, if you had the Ranger Handbook and you had the foresight, again, you can have the Ranger Handbook all day. You could be the best at what you do, but if you don't have the foresight to what Murphy's going to cause, remember I told you about Murphy's Law. I should have that on there. I think I have it on a different computer. But Murphy's Law, actually, I can find Murphy's Law here, I bet, real quick. Whatever can go wrong will, and whatever's the weak point's going to be exploited by Murphy and the evil that attacks us to fail operations. So, what we want to do is we want to counter Murphy, and that's what the Ranger Handbook is good for doing. And the system, again, it's not only what you see there, it's a system of thought process, communication. Where's this thing? Where's this thing? Get me this thing. Is that where it is? I'm not sure. Oh, wait, I want it up here. What is that? Is it an overlay? Now, let's see if that does it. There it is. Murphy's Law. In any field of endeavor, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Left to themselves, things always go from bad to worse. This is Uvalde. If there is a possibility of several things going wrong, the one that will go wrong is the one that will cause the most damage. This is what's happening there. Nature always sides with the hidden flaw. See, that's why Ranger Handbook exists, to minimize the hidden flaws. If everything seems to be going well, you have obviously overlooked something. Again, you'll find that I'm always telling you to redo things all the time. That's what that counters. Always keep looking at, keep upgrading, keep training. I'm telling you to get these officers time every week to go through battle drills, which we would call law enforcement drills. Again, you can get 7 officers this week, 7 officers next week, or give them 2 hours of overtime, whatever it is. I know if a lot of you are working overtime already, but you have to up your ante because you're being asked to do additional things. So, right, they might want to go through a patrolling phase, somewhere in the academy, or maybe a year refresher training or something, and then do it. They might want to go through some leadership training. Again, they call it leadership training, but it's patrolling and op order and morning order. And this stuff exists outside of Rangers. However, Ranger Handbook and Ranger training and Sapper Leader and Special Forces, they focus heavily on these things. So again, Murphy's Laws is generally there, and the Ranger system will counteract those. The Sapper Leader system will counteract those. Special Forces will counteract those. And that's why they're successful at what they do, because they focus in those directions to get rid of Murphy. And it becomes natural over time. So again, you might want to spend some patrolling. I know it's kind of weird because you don't want to get militarized, but there may be no other way to do it. You can probably do it. I guess tactical training, up the ante again. I said it before about the tactical training. You're being asked to be tactical officers, a little higher level than just a regular officer. You're asking your people actually to be almost special operations. And again, it's a scary special operations because special operations can sometimes be a prima donna. They sit around, they plan something for a week, and then they go do it. Right. When you have the guy on the street, you call her, she runs in, she doesn't have a rifle or some helmet on, and then you fire her. I mean, I don't understand that. She's an officer on the street. That's what she does every day. She runs into the building. You once took her to some training for a couple days. You expect, if you did, I don't even know if you trained people in this. You probably handed them a piece of paper and said, "Sign this. Here's your copy. Here's our copy. Live it." So again, there's muscle memory. She runs into a building every day. And you expect her to remember to throw your helmet on, do this. So again, yeah, over time that can develop a little bit more muscle memory in that if you train it every week or every other week, or at least once a month. Again, the more the better. So the Ranger Handbook says that we have teams assigned. And that's one of the greatest things to remember, that you have people in teams that have assignments. And when you're the ranger, not the leader, and then that's what the ranger training does. You switch off being the leader and the follower, and you do your job real well because you don't want people to mess up when you're the leader, because then they dog you for your failed mission. So again, learning that level of responsibility. I found law enforcement to be full of clowns and jokers, high school comedians. I mean, it was disgraceful, very disgraceful. But they're millionaires, okay? So it all worked out for them. So what you want to do is assign people. Let's go to the latest and greatest flaw that Murphy exploited, our medevac system. This isn't new. We had issue, if I remember, I didn't go through my stuff, but Parkland, from memory, we had an issue. I said, then you have to include some medics, some ambulances, crews, or your own people in medical training and law enforcement training. So what you want ambulance people to be, you want some cross-trained people. Reserve law enforcement would be great, and then you train them on going in with you, and then they grab their medic stuff and they go in with you. That kind of thing. And again, the goal of the Texas system is for the shooter to be neutralized within 5 seconds. But that's not always going to happen. So we have this other stuff. And even if that happens, what do we have? We have people that might need to be evacuated. So we could still have taken out the shooter and still ran into similar problems. So it's not just that situation. The parents, again, I caution law enforcement. You get closure when the guy or gal is either. First it's if they get prosecuted, then it's if they go to the death chamber. I mean, so it goes on and on. And psychologically, if you would speak to psychologists, I'm sure they would tell you that's unhealthy. You get closure when you're safe. They get closure when they're safe. That's what you tell them. You're building something up that may not take care of the pain and the loss. So again, psychologically, that idea of where they get closure, you see law enforcement squirrels do it all the time. There's a lot of law enforcement squirrels in the FBI. It's unfortunate. But they manipulate their emotions to kill people, and they enjoy that. What was that? I don't know. Does that sound like anything to you? All right, you need to heal that. Somebody wants to kill the FBI for some reason. I mean, physically. I know you want to wring their neck, but somebody wants to shoot them. So somebody heal that. I don't know if God's going to let me. After what they did to my life. So again, that's what you're also doing. You're minimizing the healer's ability to heal things because eventually God will say no. I see things all day I want to heal. God says no. And I'm not listening to Satan. I'm listening to God. God says they have to get in a certain direction to earn that healing at this point, based upon what they've said on earth. Or God's system breaks, and then we can't save people and heal people and things like that. So we're trying to get around what they've booby trapped. So the thing about assigning somebody initially, all you're going to be able to do is say, every time we come to this type of event or these types of events, we assign a medevac person, or maybe everyone, maybe one, the person, the sergeant or whoever, or the officer in charge, whatever it is. When you have more than two people, whatever there, whatever you decide to do, you assign at least one person to medical crew and medevac. And in your units, you should have people. You saw that it said it was pretty neat that what it said in the Ranger Handbook, because I didn't look at it before I told you what to do. But I was telling you, cross trained. See, they cross trained. We call it cross trained, right? But military, they say you have your combat lifesaver. In the Army, we have the combat lifesaver. I trained for that. Never got my certification. Oh, that burned me up. But I don't get mad. I just go, enough of these people. Bilko, Sergeant Bilko, you where? Bill Garcia is pretty funny. Let's see. Silvers was his name, I guess his name. God got me with Bilko. Yeah, it's an old TV show of even probably before my time, but I used to watch reruns of Bilko, Army comedy. So the spirit of Bilko is here. The spirit of Phil Silvers, I think his name was. So yeah, I never got my combat lifesaver official. They lost the roster. I mean, what kind of shit is that? What, were you clowns? You gonna be in law enforcement or something after this? Bunch of clowns. You can't figure out who was there? Reconstruct it? Talk to the unit. They got to have memorandums they wrote. It's in the computer. Well, it's the military for you. But it wasn't as bad as law enforcement. I guess people were a little bit more afraid of bad things happening to them instead of being covered by fake PIs and CIA. So, so the first thing we realized that we needed additional assignments. How many is going to be the big question. Initially, of course, you want one, at least one. You might have some sort of system of a quick calculation. Nothing that's going to take too much time, but something where people can sit around and think, like, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to think it this way, and then everybody think it that way. And it's not going to be an exact number, but based upon this happening, one, based upon that, and then of course, if you if you have all these extra people, you can assign a team like 7 or something like that. You have a leader and 6 team members or something like that, whatever number you want, 5 team members, 4, but you get a team together, and then it makes it easier. We could use color flashlights, and again, if we have a sniper, we don't want to do that, but we have all sorts of things we can use to help EMS know who we are as far as the liaison, as far as maybe somebody that's trained in medical evacuation. Having EMTs, we assign law enforcement we've actually assigned them to hospitals before, I think, too. Some places have people work in the hospitals. So why not? No, it wouldn't take away. You just have to have a couple extra officers over there, and somebody does the security, and then somebody does some EMT work or some nursing work or whatever because EMTs will work in the emergency room and do like some nursing work. That happens also. So again, you want to work, maybe start asking the hospitals for input, what they think, the trauma centers, what they think would happen would be best. You get a couple, you don't have enough officers, I realize, but you start doing this kind of stuff, people will come back. You're a bunch of clowns at this point, wanting to screw with people. You start telling them that they're going to be cross-trained in this, going to cross-trained in that. You're going to, you'd be on TV being heroes, real heroes. Yeah, you do some stuff, but anybody can answer a 911 call and do something great once in their life. It depends what you do for the long call. So again, we're not here to play the five virgins. Oh, I got news today inside that they fired the five virgins from the FBI. Remember, I told you there's five virgins in the FBI, and they put them out there whenever the news media wants to talk about something sensitive and make themselves look like they're virgins and all that because they're sex fiends. So they fired the five virgins because they wouldn't give sex to the other agents and bosses. So there's no longer five virgins in the FBI. They've been fired. But that's a reality. They get so ed up in this bullshit deep state crap that they end up killing their own agencies, their own offices, and then they bitch about it. And they're like, "Well, you had that guy, and he was doing all the work. You killed him." No, nobody told me what you said after I left. You're not like, somebody talked to him, I told you. That's how they get. Oh, somebody's talking to him, I could tell. Ah, paranoid criminals. So we come up with these things that we need. We need somebody uh, to secure keys, things like that. So again, it's not only school shootings. What we need a school secure. We get to a school, we got to get in. We stand around with our radio. Who am I supposed to see? So again, the keys should all be somewhere. Officers should know where those keys are and should be able to gain access to those keys. They had something where I lived in the apartment complex. I didn't pay too much attention to it. I don't know if it was a strike that the officers could initiate somehow, or there was a key box. I would never knew what it was. It was by the door. It was a box. Maybe the officers could open it if they had, some way to get access. I don't know. Supposedly officers were going to gain access. I still let them in our apartment complex after that. But apparently there was some way for them to get in automatic. I guess fire had the access. I don't know if officers did. So we need to find a way. There could be one key at the front, and then all the other keys are inside somewhere. But then you get into this idea of what we had happen the other day, and it happens. I mean, people, your heads are down. Oh no, we're receiving fire, we're receiving fire. That kind of stuff. What happens in combat happens to law enforcement officers. So you have to, if you have to make way to the keys, then you're at a disadvantage. Now, there's other ways around this. We can enter, the year that we live in. Everybody driving around their Teslas, and nobody turned the school into a Tesla. There's ways to update systems in schools that we don't have to worry about keys. Like I told you, you have an app. The officer gets into the app, he opens whatever door he wants with the app. Now there could be failure there, so you have backup keys somewhere. And somewhere should be someplace an officer can get to it very easily. I told you have one vehicle that you could patrol. Now this is larger departments, but maybe smaller places can do, especially when you're dealing with county level cooperation. County command center and the state command center. So, and of course, the county command center might be a city command center / county. I know Philadelphia is Philadelphia County. I don't know how other places are. I mean, here, this is a weird for me because you're in, the city is split between Oklahoma County and what is it? What's the other one? Oakland County or something? What is the other one? Oklahoma County and something county. I lived in the other one. I don't remember what it is. I'm trying to forget this place before I even move. So we know we have additional assignments. That's part of what the sapper leader training is. For us, it was a lot. It's big because we have these. We were using demolitions, and when we're engaged in demolition missions. So we have our security, we have the commo people, we have this demo team, that demo team, whatever it is we need. So again, we always had a mission. It wasn't just, hey, we're all going somewhere to shoot something. And then you get in your cigar shaped, and then you huddle and everybody pulls security. Hopefully everybody doesn't fall asleep, that kind of thing, because they don't let you sleep, they don't let you eat. So the idea is that we have to come up with a list of additional duties. Everybody, even the lowest person, has to be trained at this system. They have to. They have like any other unit. You have to be able to take over and lead your junior people. If they have to lead, they have to lead through attrition or whatever it is. They may be the only ones on scene. So the additional assignments is where I think we failed, but we also failed command and control, and that comes from a lot of times command and control. But you know, let's break this all down into a warning order, operation order type of thing. Again, they can look at the warning order, they can look at the operation order, and look at the additional teams that'll be needed for. And again, it's not just school shootings. As far as going in right away there, I don't know what the outcome would have been. Could it have been better? Yes, but obviously we're seeing other issues as far as medical that may have caused the larger loss of life. Again, this is not something that necessarily develops overnight. Again, there was Masada. Everybody committed suicide. We don't do that anymore. It took us years to figure out that you don't kill yourself. I guess if you're going to be captured by Russians, you might do that. So again, I do believe that's part of God's punishment. What's going on in the Eastern European nations? They were operating against me for years, and I knew it. Along with our CIA, that's how CIA gets around the laws. It puts foreign intelligence into our people, and then tells them to kill us. The FBI does the same stuff. DHS, Marshal Service. I don't know if Marshal Service does it. They probably kill people themselves. They're so stupid. They're not as smart as the others. No, what they do is they hire these fake teams of investigators. Something came up this morning, and I don't know if it's coming from a think tank or not. So up north somewhere, I don't remember where it was, in Connecticut, New York, wherever, they told the New Jersey, I guess it was, they told the pedophile creation teams that are saying that they're finding pedophiles, and they find some 60-year-old guy who's been effed with by these investigators for 30 years and sexualized, and then they come in and they keep bringing girls around him or girls online around him until he talks to them and then tries something sexual or her, whatever it is. It's a bullshit operation. They're paid money to do that, because what it's also doing is hiding the real pedophiles that exist, whether QAnon talks about it or not. It's not a political thing. It's not in one party or the other. It's everywhere. Rich people that have committed sex crimes and pedophilia will pay certain law enforcement and private investigative firms to protect them from prosecution. And in part, they'll also take hits out on people. So they convert the pedophilia into the victim. The victim's the pedophile, and the actual person that they're paying to victimize the person is no longer the pedophile. So they shut that down. Now, what came up is this fact: the people that they're using are actually operating, criminally, but it's private investigation, and they're not licensed. Only certain people are licensed. Now, in the security world, the junior people have to get licensed as security officers. So you can't say it's the same concept, because there is no junior private investigator license that they can get or something, or they're junior private. They're private investigators. If you're hiring them to engage, and there also the other part was that none of these PIs are authorized to use psychological methods. None of them are, from what I understand, they were interviewed, and none of these people are intelligent enough to use psychological methods. And they get around it by saying, "Well, it's a pedophile," while they're all running around having sex with young people and orgies and everything else. So again, it's a big scam. And the system that put them into it knew who they were and said, these people will do it because they don't want us dinging them for having had sex with underage people. Again, there's a lot going on here in that direction also. New Mexico for sure, Florida also. Probably everywhere else, also including the courthouse I worked in. So let's get back to this idea. We have different teams. We have a warning order and an op order that we're going to create. We're going to use that format, and that's going to help us understand what we're dealing with. Well, what happens is it's kind of like my mind. If I were, that's what I tell you. When I get in this situation, this is what I would do because I know I'm going to do that. I didn't know it was Ranger Handbook, but I know that's what I do. So eventually, what's going to happen is when you get on, when you train your officers to use this, when they get on scene, that's what they're going to do. So you're actually asking your officers to be leaders, and generally, officers a lot of time are. You have some guys or gals been in a year, and they're having to be a leader in the community when they come in and take charge of a situation. However, what you need them to do is you need to officially train them in this Ranger Handbook stuff. You really do, because Murphy is sitting there waiting to attack. So what you want to do is spend some time in the academy doing some sort of patrolling is the best way to do it. You could turn it into, again, a school. When you do the school drill, let's say you have time to plan it, and you tell them, you said, you're not going to have all this time to do it, but let's think through how we're going to do a shooter. What are the things that we would want if we had the amount of time? And when they're done, you say, okay, now condense that. Now we're just going to show up and take everything you learned and tell these people what to do because you're in charge, that type of thing. But like I'm saying, you can't just have derriere it. You have to do it the way it was planned and created to do. So you have to come up with all the teams. They have to know these teams exist and that they're going to need them. And then you throw in differing numbers of officers. And again, you have to build the teamwork concept, because what happens is one officer is going to have an easy drill and another person is going to have and you tell them that, another officer is going to have a harder drill, but it's about the team. It's not about the person that's leading. Because if you read the Ranger Handbook, it will tell you that the subordinate person has a responsibility to carry out that assignment. So it isn't, these are the things that, I was trained in. I was a pretty decent person when I got in there. I was a responsible person. My father had me work around the house. I did a lot of chores. Again, he abused me in the middle of it, but I did a lot of chores. I did a lot of work for my father, as far as, heavy muscle work and landscaping and things like that. So snow clearing. I used to love clearing snow. With my health issues, that's one of the things I miss, is being like that guy. I used to even do it like places that I live for other people, do all sorts of stuff. So we need the officers to think in that team concept. They need to know that they're going to have medevac issues. You can also throw one at them where they don't have a medevac person. What do you do then? And that was my other sequence. You go in, you neutralize, then you flip into the medevac officer. But they have to do it automatically, and they have to think about, they're sitting there waiting for the helicopter, waiting, because what's happening is the same thing. You're saying that one person was in charge. If he was, I'm telling you, he wasn't qualified. And then being qualified is only one part of it. The second part is having that knowledge, this Ranger Handbook, and knowing how to do all that type of thing. Now, they call it other things. You can go different leadership trainings and, incident trainings and things like that. But that's where it comes from, really. It comes from the Ranger Handbook and from the warning order, the operations order, all the teams that you need to assign. So again, that's where we were lacking. Again, we get with communication. If we had one person that knew all that, they could have gotten it done. But again, command and control. Where does that start? It starts in the command center. So we have a state command center. We have a county command center. We might even have a city command center. So they need to call in and say, who's in charge? Put it out to everybody. This is the person who's in charge. What are you doing, person in charge? Get back to us. Give us a sit rep. Okay? It's because you're in battle. You're not just, okay, let's say you're patrolling to where you're going to have a combat mission. You're not going to call, hey, we walked 5 steps, we walked 10 steps. You don't do that. But when you get into combat, people are wanting to know what goes on. Now, go back to the Bin Laden raid. Obama and all those people were sitting there watching it. You want that capability because then nobody has to communicate. You're like, okay, what are they doing? Okay, that's what they're doing. Hey, what are you doing over there? No, people just sitting around. We told you to go in. See, then they go in. Oh, okay, everybody, we got to go in because you're on camera. They're on camera. So again, you have body cams, but you need helmet cams or whatever you arrange for that. A body cam can be a 5G device and can transmit. So you decide what you're going to do. Body cams aren't as good as helmet cams as far as, for what you want because they go flop. And they're laying on their body cam when they hit the ground and they can't see anything. That's why I say helmet cams. And there's other reasons also. Perspective is much better. So a 5G helmet cam that's transmitting this somewhere is very important. And again, your body cam is going to go blank possibly when at certain scenarios you can't see. Again, officers are a little scared about that. Just control yourselves. I mean, that's all it takes. Control yourselves, and then you have to worry about the camera. Well, the problem is when you go over a certain line, then people want your heads cut off. You get back away from that line and get back to where you're supposed to be instead of being corrupt. Then people are like, well, they made a mistake. And then they don't even looking at you. Once you get to a certain point, people aren't even going to be looking at you. And things happen. Again, obviously, they complain about things on the computer that, wasn't wrong because it just fell apart and was a bad thing. Again, there's good shoots and bad shoots. Bad shoot doesn't mean you're a criminal. Bad shoot doesn't mean that you even violated a policy, or even if you violated a policy, that it was possible not to violate the policy. And again, the idea where you charge an officer is stupid. I mean, officers need to get charged on getting charged. I'll tell you that. Because they're thinking through a criminal enterprise and operating a criminal enterprise to include cause death. Natural death is still causing death if you're in the middle of somebody's healthcare. You're in the middle of my healthcare. You're going to cause my death early and have caused my death early. And you've caused great disability. You'll go to hell for it, every last one of you. There's no way out. These fake churches are telling you you're wonderful. That's all fake, all of you. That's all fake and satanic, and you know it. You brought them some money. You brought them some fame. You brought them protection from the pedophilia they're engaged in. Scamming pieces of shit. That's why nothing works. Anything left is scamming pieces of shit. Couldn't just leave me ride my bicycle as a poor man with other health issues. Couldn't just leave it, could you? Gotta get every last one of you. I hope the markets go further down than crypto did. 0! -0. You owe them money for as far down as your stock's gonna go. Straight into hell. Woo. So again, come up with the warning order. Now, it's not mental illness. That's reality. You deserved that fucking 30 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So again, the op order is the only way that we're going to get out of this. And the warning order, and that's inside the Ranger Handbook, but it's also some of the other stuff in the Ranger Handbook. I guess I could look it up here and see what we got here. It's bail reform, but don't it's bail reform. It's not what pieces of shit. Let me see if I can. Here's a PDF. Let me see what we got here. Anything in here? God, I was on those. I guess there's explosives in here and stuff. I don't know. There's a lot in here officers need to study. I brought up the ambushes and they started happening, and they were probably already happening. Got hasty ambush, delivery ambush. So again, officers need to you probably need to come up with some sort of training like this. I'm not sure. What, I guess you could do it all. I mean, you essentially say you're going on a, you know, into a some sort of special ops. Special ops does it. So you just say what you're doing is you're training your officers to the level of special ops is what you're doing, but not they're not going to be special ops officers when you're finished. But that's a requirement of what we need today to succeed in what we're seeing. Let's see if they have medevac stuff here. There's like a 9-line medevac thing, I think. And there's a medevac report you can have, and again, once you cross train, you'll be able to put your officers together with the EMT and work side by side. So essentially, at a minimum, and I think this is the one I designed after Parkland, you want a team of people to escort the EMS in, and that's their responsibility. So it's in their mind. So there's a team of people that escort EMS, and they know that's who they are, and they know they got to get them in there, or they're going to come looking at them as to why it didn't happen. There's an explanation of the 9 lines on a medevac. It's table B1 and West Card B6. Yeah, that's at the end of this thing. So again, you come up with something like that. I'm not saying that you use their format or anything, and then okay, B1. Okay, there it is. Yeah, that's pretty good. Special equipment required. Number of patients by type, security of pickup site. Uh, okay, in this line 6, required to assist the evacuation crew when assessing the situation and determining if assistance is required. More definitive guidance can be furnished to the evacuation vehicle as it is en route, specific location of enemy to assist in aircraft and planning. So again, this is modified for law enforcement security of pickup site. You will always have EMS security. When I mean, if you don't know people, you don't know people. That's one thing. But again, that's what I guess line 6 is what we're looking at a minimum. Again, I have this here. Can I put it? Okay, I guess I can put it. Oh, no, I have to go into the. All right, I close it. Let me open it. I mean, paid millions of dollars to do this to people. I understand that, all of you. But years ago, we used to put those pieces of shit in prison. Now they are. Now you all are those pieces of shit. Let me get this organized too. All right, over here, bring it up. Let's see if we got. I'll take this off. Oh, supposed to be working here. Not showing it. Yeah. So I got it on Minicam virtual webcam. It's supposed to work. I changed to 720. Is it do something different? Wait, maybe I have something else on here blocking it. It should be. It should be there. Oh, it's still. And oh, I see. There it is. Okay. So here is something that you need to look at. Explanation of the 9 lines on a medevac request card. This is something that works for what you need. The explanation there. There's a combat casualty card. Again, you don't have to get so descriptive, but you might want to. You can have officers that have these in their med bag, and they go in and they just start, what they found on their assessment, and they hand it to the EMS. So again, here's all the stuff that they use. You know, take a look at that as far as that goes. Quick reference card. See, it's a quick reference card. So again, these are the type of things you have to develop. Are they going to have time to use it? Maybe, maybe not. But again, you know, Appendix B there, medevac card, medevac request format. So again, there's a ton of things in this book. Here's the other thing I talk about: work, rest, water consumption. All this stuff is in everything that I say. Even when I talk about the president, right? So again, the Ranger Handbook is important, but you may want to come up with a law enforcement Ranger Handbook. I don't know if anybody did that. I can kind of Google that, I guess. Law enforcement Ranger, law enforcement Ranger Handbook. Right. Okay. So you might want to, you know, somebody might want to sit down and convert the Ranger Handbook into a law enforcement Ranger Handbook. So what you're essentially doing what I said, you know, you're asking for a react to ambush. So again, we're going to have to start training more on that reacting to ambush. So you're essentially entering into some special operations training. I remember when I was in the Army, sometime around 1986 or so, maybe close to 87, there was this idea that the 101st was going to begin operating and training as an unconventional warfare entity. Changed our vehicles out, did all sorts of stuff. So it's the same thing. And when these things happen, you know, again, I was part of history that way. And I guess you all don't think and move, and you can adapt and overcome that kind of thing. That's what you need to do. So your whole training system has to change, because you're asking your officers to engage in special operation, and day in and day out, they're engaged in law enforcement operation that programs them a different way. They don't grab their rifle, they don't grab their helmet, they run in and save people's lives and then get fired for it. I've never seen such shit in my life. I hate that, man. When I was in the military, anybody like that needed to stay away from me. I never say anything, but I guess my actions spoke louder than words. Like Major Gant. People like that were around Major Gant the whole time. And then as soon as they got something on him, that was it. They got rid of him. And they screwed their whole mission. They screwed the whole Afghanistan mission by getting rid of Major Gant. I'm telling you that right now. That's what piece of shit you all are. You sit around just waiting to kill the guy that does all the work and then knows how to win everything. But yeah, it's probably a nice guy. He doesn't really doesn't pontificate too much. And you get an officer, so you pontificate a little bit. Me, I never brag about nothing. I never did. I mean, now I have to speak a little bit because they sold me so bad. Because I believe I can speak loud words. I was capable of doing anything. Anything to help our nation militarily and within law enforcement, as well as some advanced medical skills. I could actually be a medic leader. I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time in EMS or anything like that. I could pretty much run it. I just have a couple good people. Like my boss said, my chief used to say, I don't know anything about your job. I mean, I do, but I don't know anything about your job. I just know I have to know how to manage you. And to certain degrees, right. But if you're an a-hole, then it doesn't work. Right? But you can't manage if you're an a-hole. You just blame people and fire them. So again, we have a lot of different things here. Mountaineering. So once you start, again, one of the issues is people leaving your entity. You give them all this training and then they leave the entity. That's a big problem. So you have to, again, we mainstream it. You have to sit down at a national level and have meetings on this. So what should happen is you should have, the Justice Department, the FBI, and DHS, and state and local. Like, what I would do is state, and then also use some of the big cities, and you just sit down and you come up with a curriculum change for the academy and include everything that you're seeing that isn't working. It's just like the idea with Southwest. The whole time I'm talking, but we usually don't have this problem. Well, from what the secretary said, you all have this problem. It's just we accept a certain level of failure. So if we put FEMA people in there and they got radios and they got phones and they can call and help you through where you are. Like, what happens is other airlines are probably looking at Southwest and going, what? So again, when we put our people down to ticket counters, we put our people in the control centers at these airports. Somebody can say, look, all they got to do is this. So FEMA people are already saying that. It's like, all they got to do is this. They did that, and that doesn't work. And again, getting it to the ground floor and taking care of the issue early. And again, when we look at today's news, all we should have been doing, like the federal government said, you can bill these people. You got people that they're responsible. I mean, you might have to fight it out in court, but they're responsible for these people, and they're going to thank you in the end because then they would sue. So what you need to do is you have your people with the authorization to house people in an emergency. It's nothing new, correct? Now, these emergencies are going to happen more often because we're talking about general snowstorms and when people get stranded. Now, maybe you can work it out and have a memorandum of understanding with maybe sort of a contract with the the airlines. You can't fly them out. They sit in here, and you're not foreseeing flying them out for 24 hours. They don't have a place to go. They can't. In fact, they can't get anywhere. The snow's so bad. What are we going to do? Well, we have FEMA people. We have National Guard. We'll shuttle people to hotels, and we'll get them somewhere. I mean, really, what happened in Buffalo is kind of weird. They even had National Guard. So again, maybe they didn't have enough National Guard. I don't know what the system is. Maybe there was no. Again, the same thing we saw in Uvalde. Command and control fell apart. Well, he's in charge. She's in charge. So we look at the airport part of it. We can take care of that, and then we can take care of other spots too with the same type of task forces. So we have a task force. When incumbents come in, they go to the airport and they sit there. Now, what happens when we don't use them? We don't use them. That's just really how it works. So sometimes we're going to use them, sometimes we're not. But like the other day, they needed them. And when I talk about transportation, you got to think it out well. You got to have enough transportation. And something that's not going to get stuck. And then you have on your records when you do get stuck. So again, it's similar to a military operation, but yet it's a National Guard emergency. There's no reason not to use it in those scenarios. Now, there's other things that are going to happen off of it that will that require other type of troubleshooting. But that's what you're seeing is what I thought was happening. The basic idea is you have people that want to get somewhere, they can't get somewhere, and you're just go talk to the counter at the front. Don't you dare come back here again. Right. So again, that's kind of like what you sit down. How many of them, if you said, "Hey, the FEMA guy there has transportation for you. He can take you to a hotel overnight. We can't guarantee you what's going to happen tonight at the hotel. We can't guarantee when we're going to be able to fly you out, but we can put you up somewhere." Because FEMA does this anyway. DHS does this to a certain degree. We have a lot of differing situations where we dealt with something, putting people somewhere for a little while until we could get to them. I think I helped come up with that. So it's stupid that we got there with that because we accepted failure. We accepted a certain percent of failure, and if one day that failure grew, we don't accept failure now. Is there going to be failure? Yes, but let's minimize it. If an airline is 5%, let's take it down to 2%. If that's 2%, let's take it down to 0%. I mean, just try. So again, we put FEMA people in the airport with the task force. We'll have Department of Transportation people. We'll have National Guard. Maybe DHS. I know there's DHS people in those airports. You can pull a couple DHS people in. They might have some ideas. And then you have to get the vehicles that that is going to make it. Now, what if we can't make it? What do we do next? What if we can't leave the airport? Which I don't think will exist, but that's the next scenario. So what do you do? Maybe our airports are constructed wrong. There's a lot of space in airports, most of them. Could have built a convention center size space just for people to have comfort. So you can have an emergency building for emergencies where people just going over there, grab some food. There's people over there from the USO and a couple other places. They can help you. Right. And then maybe you have semi-private areas. Maybe not completely private, but like they did in, I think that's how they did it. And what's that center up there, the private center? What is it? Up in New York. I think what they did is they cordoned off little areas for people for COVID. Right. So you have little areas that are, cordoned off, again, an open space with an open doorway, but a little bit of privacy. And they could kind of just relax in there. They want to rest on the floor, they can do it. So again, we never adjusted for the increased flow we have through our airports. If we get this increased flow, we should have what do they call those areas? An overflow area, kind of, they just push them off into the, again, you're putting them off somewhere. Which, hey, look, there's some peanuts, there's some hot dogs. People, once you treat, it's like a big jury to me. Once you treat people right, then it kind of, your failure is not as big a failure. It's like a big jury, What do you all want for lunch? So again, you treat them right, is get them to a hotel, do what you got to do just to make it kind of go away for a day or two until you can adjust and get where you need to get to. I think we had, once it started failing, everybody said, okay, put your head in the sand, like an ostrich, or whatever it is they show in that video, or not video, there's what are they called? Copyrighted image. you have to purchase. It's head in the sand. They have a bunch of but Google head in the sand, copyright image or just image or whatever, and you'll see just all the ones you can buy with people with their heads in the sand and stuff like that. So I think it got to that point thinking that time would work it out on its own, and it didn't. So then at that point, they had to actually do something. So that's the idea that the female person isn't going to hide anything. They're going to be walking around looking at your ticket counters. They're going to be looking at your gates. They're going to hear that a cop was called because somebody's getting thrown on the other side. And you go, okay, what's going on here? All right, what are we going to do with this person? We're just going to put them out there? No, that's not supposed to happen. So again, at that point, the Secretary of Transportation has some teeth before anything gets to the level that it did. Right now, there is no enforcement mechanism at that initial point. So essentially, you're going to represent the people, but you're also going to help the airlines. You're not just going to say, airline, you're a bad person. You're going to say, airline, we have some things we can do with you, but this is one of our citizens, one of our traveling public. Because again, you got people from overseas. Things. This is a member of the public. We want that person safe. What is your projected outcome of this? And you got to be honest. We don't think we're going to get anywhere for a day or two. What can you do? Can you go home? Can you go to a friend's house? What can you do? I can't do anything. Well, okay, I can get you to a hotel. Would that be? Oh, that would work. Or would you rather go to the overflow center that they're going to build? Well, we don't have that yet. So, because we got hot dogs, peanuts, over there, bags of chips. Okay, we have salads and other things. Healthy food too. Protein bars. So again, we need an overflow center at our airports where we give people space. Similar, like I said, to the stuff they were building for COVID at the convention centers and things. And then you say, airline, are you going to authorize payment for this? And we'll hand you a ticket for you. You can give them a ticket for it or whatever. Maybe you can have it in an app where you just enter it in the app and it gets sent to the airport, email, whatever it is, or the airline email, whatever it is. And they're like, yeah, okay. And then you start getting them placed. So again, they can get them placed on their own. But again, when we're dealing with the snowstorm, we have to tell ourselves that the majority of people are not going to be able to get places. And we'll get them there. Now, some people might abuse the system a little, but then that teaches you not to mess it up. And again, it won't be as messed up. If we start, I got 5 employees who can't get into work, and this is going to ruin. Well, we'll get them here. Give us their addresses, and then you send your people. Say you see the transportation force and all terrain transportation force is necessary. EMS failed. I remember pushing a cop car when I was a kid. I remember it was snowing like 78 or something, or 79, when a deep snows hit. And one of the cop cars was stuck, and we all ran up. Yay! Pushed the cop out. That's probably like 79. So again, the answers are pretty easy. But the first thing you want to do is sit down with the Ranger Handbook and design your warning order and operation order and come up with all your needed teams. My suggestion is just simply, at this point, at a minimum, put a memorandum out saying every one of these situations where we bring in, there's like about a team of people, more than a couple. At least one person has to be assigned as a medevac person, and you have to give them guidance on how to do it. Eventually, our people should be able to guide in helicopters, all that kind of thing. And I know state police probably have a lot of state police entities probably do something similar. So we have to look at our ambulance system, our EMS system in snowbound areas. We need to start talking to people about transponders. We need to talk to the automotive industry about satellite transponders in vehicles. It really doesn't cost that much money. Inside the think tank that I connected into, we started discussing it. I don't know who was on the other end. We figure it would cost an automotive manufacturer. Of course, they want to make some profit off it, but it'd be about $100 probably a unit. So again, I don't know what that would cost as far as a car going into a car or SUV or something. But they figure it's about $100 a unit. Elon Musk says maybe cheaper. That's his spirit. I don't think he's speaking to me. He thinks maybe we can do it cheaper. So every vehicle, and again, we're behind the times. Why? Because you're cursing and hating on people, all of you. That's why we can't invent anything that we need. And it doesn't matter even inventing. I say it's all here. Let's get up to the modern era and put it into our schools, put it into our EMS, put it into every vehicle that's ever sold. At this point, I'm ready to buy a transponder just to support the idea and put it in my car all day. I've been harping on transponders for people that go into the woods for years. I mean, that girl, I'm just like, you walked off in the middle of winter in a mountain without a transponder. That's all she needed. She'd been safe. She went beep, and even before she started walking around in circles. It got cold, she hit the button, they'd come get her. So again, everybody that they couldn't find, that's how it works. Could they have gotten to them? I don't know. That's another issue. Why don't we have more National Guard? Cost money? Well, I don't want to sound like a Republican. We spend a lot of money overseas, right? Because they do too anyway. But, you're in this hot seat, so they're pointing at you. Well, we need to redesign our ambulance, possibly. Now they're designed for high-speed driving on the highways, low center of gravity. Well, we might need to do something. What do they do? Israel have combat? They actually did in Syria too, didn't they? Right, they have different tires. Even different tires may have worked. All right, I got some stuff I got to take over to storage, and then I got to start packing some more. But this is the basic idea. Look, maybe I'll go more in depth later. I mean, this is what's in my mind. Receive the mission, issue a warning, want to make a tentative plan. But see, this is all part of the process of coming on the scene and realizing what to do, and it helps people figure out what to do and how to take charge and all those other things. Somebody needs to be appointed the troop leader on these scenes. So again, that's where your command and control comes in, and your communication from command center. Right. So here you go, specify tasks, applied tasks, make a tentative plan, specify tasks, retain Hill 545, provide one squad to the 81mm platoon to carry ammunition, establish an observation post to vicinity, and later, provide security during movement, conduct resupply operations, coordinate with adjacent units. You see me speaking about that kind of stuff all the time. So again, you come up with your tasks. No, I don't read this book. I probably read it once, kind of. I actually did it in Staff Leader course, and I did it in the military, and I probably did it when I was in Marshal Service. So again, when you get to this hasty type of thing, you lose a lot of the time to do all this, but you don't lose, you lose content. See, these people need to have the content of this in their mind. What are the specified tasks? What are the implied tasks? Take care of the assignments. Again, your people in the command center can have something right in front of them written. Well, you could talking to the leader. Hey, did you assign the medevac person yet? Didn't you see that paper you signed last week? That kind of stuff is what's going on. So then they sign. Oh, I'll sign them right now. And assign person. Well, I got a list of names. You have to so and so say they're qualified to do the extra stuff. Again, bottom line is if you don't have somebody, you pick whoever can do it, right? And then you can even send a teacher if you don't have enough officers. Again, we have certain scenarios that we're looking at as far as Uvalde, but I might already picked up. What if we're in the Shmuval day, and they got 2 state troopers, and that's it for 30 miles, probably more than that, but just an idea of what could happen. So again, that's another scenario that has to be covered. Rural areas. So again, you might have to send a teacher out to meet the ambulances and the helicopters and do the best that she can or he can. Again, this is what we're not doing. We're not doing the planning and also the troubleshooting and then and again, people have to do this on the fly. But again, there has to be the oversight. You need that top level of somebody sitting in an air-conditioned or heated room, eating s'mores or something, and drinking a cup of cocoa, and then they can think for the person on the street that might be having a little bit of what they call a brain flatulence. That's why the system was developed. So centuries of type of things of actually Murphy. Centuries of Murphy is what happened. So where's that? If I make Murphy Law thing. All right, that's it. Nothing more. You may go. Oh, it's over here. All right, so we're gonna try. That's what we got to fight. That's the enemy. That's really the enemy. Once we fight that, then we win everything. And of course, the only way to get there is with God. So knock it off. Knock it off already. All right, stay peaceful.